Okay, so now that we've studied cells and learned about why cells are so important to living things, we're going to take the cell and we're going to show how cell works within a system of an organism. And specifically, we're going to look at humans. So we're now going to start talking about the human body systems and how a cell builds upon that system and how those different systems work. Okay, so today our essential question is we're going to learn about the skeletal and muscular systems. So our essential question is how does the skeletal and muscular systems work together? So we're going to learn about these two systems today and how they work together and how they can build from cells all the way to a system. Our learning target is learning target 12. We're going to explain and model the organs and the function or job of the skeletal and muscular system. So after the notes and the practice, you should be able to list all the organs in the skeletal and muscular system, be able to model them and identify them and tell me their specific job. Okay, so we're going to start off with how cells work within our systems in our body. So the level of organization is all living things are made up of cells. We've covered that. Cells are the basic unit of structure and function. So cells start out as the smallest part of living things. Then you have a group of cells which are called a tissue. Okay, so for example, if you take a look at this picture, you've seen this before. This is a picture of a muscle cell. Remember, its shape is long because it has to relax and contract. So when you take that muscle cell and you put groups of muscle cells, so see the individual groups, this is the nucleus of one muscle cell, so look at all these nuclei. Okay, these are different muscle cells, and you can see the shape right there. Okay, they're very long. Okay, a group of muscle cells make up a muscle tissue. Okay, then you take that muscle tissue, okay, and you put all the muscle tissue together and it creates an organ like a muscle. Okay, that's an organ of the muscular system. You put all the organs in our body together, it makes a system called the muscular system. So over here you can see this is a picture of all the muscles in a human body. That's called the muscular system. So that's the level of organization that we have inside our body. We go from a cell, the smallest basic part, to a group of cells, which is the tissue, to a group of tissues, which make up an organ, and then all the organs put together make an organ system. Okay, to start with, we're going to start with the skeletal system. So the function, the job of the skeletal system is basically to give shape and support. Okay, so we would not have shape if we did not have a skeletal system. Okay, our skeletal system protects internal organs. For example, our cranium, which is our skull, okay, it protects our brain. Our lungs and our sternum protect our heart. Okay, so we have a lot of our bones protect major internal organs that we want to keep safe from injury. Okay, skeletal system function is also the movement. Okay, so our skeletal system works with the muscular system because muscles are attached to our bones. And because muscles are attached to our bones, we are allowed to move. Another function is that blood cells are also made in our bones, which is called the bone marrow. That's a part of our bone. Okay, so we get our red, white blood cells created from our bones. Another good thing, another function about our skeletal system is that our minerals and chemicals like calcium and phosphorus are stored in our bones. Okay, and you've heard that before. If you drink lots of milk, you're going to have strong bones. That's because milk has calcium in it. Okay, and just to reiterate, bones are the organs of the skeletal system. So bones are made up of cells. Those cells form tissues. Those tissues form a bone. Bones are the organs. All the bones put together make up the skeletal system. Okay, this is a picture of the anatomy of a bone. Okay, so you have different parts of your bone. Okay, the outer layer of your bone is called the compact bone. It's very strong. Okay, the inside layer of your bone is called the spongy part of your bone. It has a lot of air pockets and holes. It kind of looks exactly like a sponge. If we didn't have the spongy bone, if our bone was all compact, we wouldn't be able to move it because our bones would be too heavy, they'd be too dense. So the spongy part of our bone is actually what keeps our bones light, less dense, and allows our muscles to move them. Now, there's certain parts that make up our our skeletal system, okay, where whenever you have two bones that come together, okay, that's going to be called a joint. So, whenever bones meet, so if you look at the pictures over here, so when you have your shoulder blade meeting your arm, that's where two bones meet, that's called a joint. It's actually a ball and socket joint. Okay, when your cranium meets your neck or your cervical vertebrae, that is also a joint. Okay, where your femur meets your tibia and fibia, these two bones right here, that is a joint. Okay, now between the joints, if we didn't have anything between them, your bones would be grinding on each other and they would start to weather and erode away. So what we have in between our joints is cartilage. So if you take a look at this picture right here, this is an area between the femur and the tibia and fibia. In between, there's a space between that's full of tissue. That tissue is cartilage. And that's what's going to create cushions so that when you guys move, you jump, you run, your bones, instead of hitting each other, that cartilage is there to provide that cushion. Unfortunately, when you get older, you have less cartilage and your bones, your joints start to hurt when you do more physical activity, which is my case when I played volleyball and it damaged my knees and my cartilage is missing between my knees. Okay, a ligament is a tissue that connects bones at joints. So these bones don't just lock together. Okay, they have to be connected by a tissue, and that member of tissue is a group of cells. So a ligament is a group of cells that will connect bone to bone, and so that they will stay in place. So, and that's why if you ever tear a ligament, it's extremely painful because you no longer have your bones staying together. So you have to immobilize those bones where that ligament was. So note to self, do not tear ligaments. Okay, so that's the major part of your skeletal system. So there's your function of your skeletal system. The bones are the major organs. Okay, the tissues that make up the skeletal system are ligaments. Okay, and the place where your bones come together are joints. Okay, just so you give an idea, you have about 204 bones in your skeletal system. Quite a few. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the muscular system. So the skeletal and muscular system work together because our skeletal system would not move without muscles. So our muscular system, its major function is to make daily movement possible. The organs in the muscular system are your muscles. The organs can relax, contract, and they provide the force to move your body parts. Now, there are two types of muscles in your muscular system. You've got voluntary and involuntary. Voluntary muscles are muscles you control and move. So like your arm, your legs, and your neck, your fingers, muscles in your fingers. You have control over those muscles. You tell them what to do, and they'll do it. Okay? Then you have involuntary muscles. These are the muscles that you can't control. So you have muscles of your internal organs, like your stomach, your intestines and kidneys, your large intestine. Those muscles move based on what your brain, your nervous system tells them to do. Okay, so you don't tell your stomach to digest food and those muscles to contract. It does it automatically based on what your brain is telling the stomach to do through the nervous system. So those are involuntary muscles. Now, muscles are also the tissues that make up the organs of the muscles. There's four different types of tissues. So remember, a tissue makes up an organ, and the organ is the muscles. So these are the different types of tissues that create different types of muscles. So you have skeletal tissue. Skeletal tissue is any tissue that makes up muscles that move your bones. Okay, so any muscle that moves the bone is made up of skeletal tissue. Okay, so if you look at this picture over here, okay, this muscle right here that moves your humor, that's the bone in your upper part of your arm, that is called a skeletal muscle tissue. It's made up of a skeletal muscle cell. Okay. Tendon is another type of tissue. It basically connects I'm sorry, that's a typo. It connects, let me fix that. This word should be muscle. So it's a tissue that connects muscle to bone. So a tendon, just like a ligament was a tissue that connects bone to bone, a tendon is a tissue that connects your muscle to your bone. So like I said previously, bones don't just connect, you have to have a tissue like a ligament. Well, it's the same thing with muscles to bones. Your muscles can't move your bones unless they're connected to your bones. So they're connected by a tendon. Another type of tissue is the cardiac tissue. This is your tissue that's found only in your heart. So your cardiac tissue is basically all the muscles, all the cells that are in your heart that make up the muscle. Okay? Your smooth tissue is any tissue that makes up muscles that are found in your organs or your blood vessels. So like your other organs, like your stomach, your large intestine, your small intestine, your kidneys, those are made up of smooth muscle tissue. Okay, and if you look right here, that's what the smooth muscle tissue looks like, because it has to be able to relax and contract. So those are the 4 types of tissue that create different types of muscles in your body. So you have skeletal muscles, cardiac muscles, smooth muscle. Okay, cardiac muscle is simply your heart. Okay, this gives you another picture of when I was talking about how, your stomach muscles, you can't control it, but there is a message that's received from your brain that goes to your stomach muscles so it knows when to digest. What you're looking at here is a picture. This is actually a nerve cell. Okay, your nerve cell makes up your nervous system. So that sends a message to this muscle and tells it what to do. Okay, so that's kind of how the muscular system also works with the nervous system. Okay, this gives you another picture of the different types of tissue you've got. Remember, this is your smooth tissue that makes up your internal organs. Skeletal muscle that's attached to your skeletal bones. And again, these dark spots are your nuclei. Those are nucleus of a cell. Okay, cardiac, this is the type of muscle tissue that makes up your heart. Okay, so in order for our muscles to move, they're just not automatically going to do that. We need energy from cellular respiration. So remember in our last unit, we talked about how humans take in oxygen and glucose, sugar, from the food that they eat. That gets put into our cells, and those cells convert that chemical energy from glucose and oxygen and turn it into mechanical energy or kinetic energy. So that allows us to move. So our muscle cells go through the process of cellular respiration really fast. That's why inside our muscle cells, they have a ton of mitochondria, because they have to cellular respirate. Okay, so muscles need energy, so we have to get that from our food and from the air that we breathe. So again, muscles will convert chemical energy from the glucose and oxygen, okay, into mechanical energy, okay, through the process of cellular respiration in the mitochondria of our cells. So our muscle cells have a lot of mitochondria because they need a lot of energy. Now this is just a quick animation that kind of shows you this is what your muscle does inside your body. It's attached to the skeleton system. And if you look, your muscle is contracting and relaxing, so that's why the cells of the muscular system have to be that certain shape, have to be kind of long. Okay, so that's basically how our muscular and skeletal system work together, and then I've briefly mentioned how it also works with the nervous system.